Welcome to Okaloosa Eye on Crime. Our local law enforcement agencies are reaching out to you for help in solving crimes and also finding some wanted individuals.
That's right, and this month we're going to review a 30-year-old cold case involving the disappearance of a 13-year-old girl from her Fort Walton Beach apartment. Now we're also going to focus on some burglaries and the value of intense training and a new Okaloosa Unified DUI Task Force.
So let's get started. First up, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is still seeking information in a 30-year-old disappearance case. It's been 3 decades since 13-year-old Andrea Durham vanished from her family's Ocean City apartment near Fort Walton Beach, and investigators continue searching for answers. Andrea was home alone the evening of February 1st, 1990. That's when her mother and sister returned home from a meeting and found her purse and all her personal belongings inside, but Andrea had simply disappeared. Investigators say nothing was out of place. There were no signs of a struggle, and although many leads have come in over the years, none have provided any solid leads in this case. So that investigation remains open, and we're asking for your help if you have any information you could share.
And next up, the Walton County Sheriff's Office needs some help identifying a smash and grab vehicle burglary suspect. This happened on January 10th between 12:15 and 12:30 p.m. The front passenger window of a 4-door sedan was broken at the Aliquot Dog Park located on John D. Miller Road there in Santa Rosa Beach. The victim had her purse, wallet, and all of its contents stolen from the vehicle. Now, shortly after 12:50, a black male in a bright red hoodie and jeans is seen entering Walmart and attempting to purchase more than $400 in gift cards, of course using the victim's card. Now, the suspect's request was luckily declined, but he's seen leaving here. You can see the vehicle, a silver 4-door sedan, possibly a Nissan Versa or Altima. Of course, anybody with information, contact Walton County Sheriff's Office or Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers anonymously. And of course, we always take the chance to remind residents, not only lock your vehicles, but also make sure that you do not leave any valuables in plain sight that might be worth breaking into the car for.
Prevention. The next case up involves business burglaries, actually 2 cases with 2 separate burglaries at the same place. BJ Screens at 300 Racetrack Road in Fort Walton Beach. The first took place January 3rd at 8:30 in the morning, and following that incident, the suspect reportedly left in a black SUV, possibly a Honda. The second one was on January 5th at 5:30 in the evening, and that suspect was accompanied by a white male, about 6'1", 175 to 180 pounds. He was wearing a ball cap, shorts, and a white shirt. And the suspects reported to have stolen miscellaneous items totaling around $3,500.
And even though the holidays are over, we actually still have some folks who are porch pirates. And you can take a look here. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is trying to identify this man that was caught on video stealing a package from a porch of a Shalimar home on January 4th. Now, anybody with information, of course, Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers, 863-TIPS, or emeraldcoastcrimestoppers.com. And as always, there is the P3 Mobile Tips app. You can submit secure, anonymous information.
The Crestview Police Department is seeking information reference a burglary that took place at the football stadium concession stand at Crestview High School in November. Video shows what appears to be a man riding a bike in the area around the time that the burglary took place. Any information on that, of course, contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers.
Next up, the State Fire Marshal's Office is investigating the cause of a fire that destroyed townhomes that were actually under construction. This happened about 5 a.m. Back on December 21st on Schneider Drive over in Fort Walton Beach. And you can see the photos there. It was just a complete loss of those brand new townhomes that were being built. So anybody with information, of course, you can contact the State Fire Marshal's Office or, of course, Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers.
And next up, this guy was caught on tape burglarizing a home on Pompano Street in Destin on December 10th. And Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office investigators are hoping someone out there can identify him. There was also a white female with dark hair with a short ponytail involved. So anything on that, let us know. Next up, Aristotle is quoted as saying, "We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, therefore, is not an act, but a habit."
Absolutely, and each year the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office holds an intense annual training exercise to bring together the year-long training sessions held to hone the skills of the Special Response Team, the Crisis Negotiations Unit as well. Now, the Okaloosa County EMS Tactical Response Team was also on hand to practice their procedures and game plan for any kind of major incident.
It turned out to be a bank robbery. Essentially 3 individuals, sovereign citizens, got a beef with the government. They go because they consider the bank to be a visible sign of the establishment of the state, if you will. And they're going in to send a message, and it goes badly for them. There happens to be law enforcement in the area. They get pinned inside, and there's a standoff between the patrol and the bad guys inside. They just can't aggress on one another.
So from our team, all 31 personnel were there. Crisis negotiations was there. EMS, we worked with their TRT, which is their tactical response team, which is who we would escort to pull injured victims out of a warm zone during a critical situation.
So we do everything within our power to make them as realistic as possible, taking information from previous real-world incidents and making our suspects or our structure or scenario mirror those as much as we are able to, and so that the first time somebody's exposed to it isn't the real time somebody's exposed to it.
Train at least 16 times a year, which are 12 hours a day, and then we have our yearly 40-hour advanced and basic course that we put on. It's to identify our weaknesses is really the biggest point of emphasis that we have, is what weaknesses do we have so that we can focus our training towards that over the following year.
Our goal in this is you don't break role. As you saw, when people are in there, one of our guidances to role player or whomever is you do not break role.
That's interesting.
Because once you break that role, you don't recover. Months of planning go into training for seconds or minutes of one's life.
I was told by a guy that I reach out to a lot, it's been on SWAT teams for over 20 years, and I said, what can we do to recreate these hostage situations so when we run into them in real life, so that they're better prepared? And he said, every scenario you do should be just like the real thing, so when they show up to the real thing, it's almost like they've done it 20 times in the year anyways, so it's very simplistic and easy for them to handle. It gives that personal touch to it. It makes it that much more meaningful that we're here to save lives, which is our mission.
The SRT evaluator was a career SRT individual. The crisis negotiation CNU evaluator is a crisis. It wasn't somebody we just pulled and said, can you evaluate them? Yes, they have to have that experience, that expertise, that knowledge, that credibility. And I can tell you the people of this county, I'm biased to admit, can be incredibly proud of the training that the members of this organization, we're talking about SRT and CNU now, it goes down to the newest of deputies to the most senior.
Evaluations take place immediately after this big training scenario, and that's so that everything is still fresh in everybody's minds. And I do want to thank Northwest Florida State College for the use of their administration building for the training, or former administration building, and also that Thespian Club from Tuckatahatchee High School that came in to be actors to make it more realistic.
And now next up, of course, we're going to do something that we do every month, and that is feature some wanted fugitives that law enforcement is hoping maybe you can help them find. Just a reminder, they are wanted as of today's taping date, which is January 15th, 2020. And of course, if you do provide information that leads to an arrest, you could earn a cash reward of up to $3,000, 100% anonymous. First up, a new face, and that is Leo Nix III. He's 26 years old. He's wanted by the Fort Walton Beach Police Department for aggravated assault, burglary, and violation of an injunction. Last known to live on Carson Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
Let Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers know if you have any information about the whereabouts of William Patrick Larry. He's wanted for violation of probation for grand theft auto. His last known address was on Sunny Lane in Crestview.
And deputies are still searching for 57-year-old Reginald Lamar Bethune. He's wanted for burglary, last known to live on Park Circle in Fort Walton Beach.
Tad Keith Bowers, wanted for violation of probation on an original charge of child neglect.
And some good news, since our last show, Christopher James Jones has been located.
Still looking for Tyree Devon McCorvey. He's wanted by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for VOP for burglary as well as grand theft. McCorvey's last known to live on Ridgewood Avenue in Mary Esther.
Anthony Michael Fraudley, who was last known to live in Fort Walton Beach, he's wanted for violation of probation for grand theft, trafficking in stolen property, and providing false information to a pawnbroker.
Trying to track down William James Barchewski, wanted for VOP for battery on a law enforcement officer or firefighter. Last known address, Schneider Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
Another new face this month is 26-year-old Tremaine Jamal Lewis. He's being sought for violation of probation for home invasion robbery, last known to live on 12th Street in Shalimar.
Another child neglect case, Alyssa Victoria Hibberts, wanted for violating probation for a child neglect charge as well as possession of cocaine. She was last known to live over in Pensacola.
Deputies are still searching for 57-year-old Richard Huey Dixon Jr. He's being sought for violation of probation for burglary, criminal mischief, as well as theft, last known to live on Hollywood Boulevard in Fort Walton Beach.
And this violation of probation or VOP is for battery, looking for James Clinton Brinkley Jr., last known to live in Pensacola.
And another one that can be taken off the show that's been caught is Lee Morse Grant.
Joseph Lee Fairchild's up next. He's wanted for violating probation on a charge of aggravated assault. Next up, Francis Kelly Campbell was last known to live in Crestview. The 33-year-old is wanted for violation of probation for theft and failure to appear for leaving the scene of an accident, as well as driving with a license that was suspended or revoked.
Last up on our first list is 43-year-old David Allen Bobbitt, and he is being sought for fraud. Now, up next, Okaloosa County had at least 64 traffic crashes in 2019 involving impaired drivers, and a number up nearly 50% over 2018. So that trend caught the attention of 11 civilian and military law enforcement entities here in Okaloosa County.
That's right, and in fact, they have joined forces to create a unified task force, and that task force is dedicated to working together to reduce drunk driving, impaired driving crashes.
Definitely, sir. He just turned here at Captain Dave's northbound. Gotcha. Yeah, so he just plowed through the fence. Looks like he plowed through another fence and slammed into a house. Get on the ground now! Get on the ground!
So someone is killed every 50 minutes in the United States by an impaired driver. In Okaloosa, from 2018, these countywide statistics are from all the agencies you see here represented. Is in 2018 to 2019, our increase for impaired related crashes increased almost 49%, 48.84%, and 25% increase in DUI arrests. Unlike our neighbors to the east or to the west, our neighbors to the east have one municipality and our neighbors to the west have two. We have 9 municipalities in Okaloosa County, so we're an anomaly in North Florida. This is the first collaborated effort that we've ever had of this kind in this county, where we have every law enforcement agency in the county that patrols our highways and our streets that's represented for one mission and one goal, and that's for enforcement of impaired driving and DUIs. This collaborative effort is agencies committed to simultaneously patrolling their jurisdictions and dedicating resources on different specific nights. And we can get into those details, but we're going to work on 6 of the highest holiday nights that typically affect our impaired driving on the road in Okaloosa County. But I want to remind you, celebrate responsibly. There's no reason why you should go to jail for driving under the influence. With designated drivers, Uber, Lyft, any of your local taxi services, we would love for you to be able to utilize those resources rather than go to jail. It costs about $10 for a ride versus $10,000 for a DUI. We have a Facebook page up and running, Okaloosa County Unified DUI Task Force. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. And also, if you see something, if you see an impaired driver, if you see erratic behavior on the highway, please contact the Sheriff's Office or contact your local municipality or Star FHP. Any of those would be able to help service your area.
We will have specifically Florida Fish and Wildlife, and they're very humble gentlemen, but both of those gentlemen are certified drug recognition experts, where they've received a very intensive advanced course in recognizing the effects of impaired driving caused by something other than alcohol, and to be able to testify as an expert witness in court to help get those cases into court. The Sheriff's Office has drug recognition experts, and we intend to train more to help with that.
I know we've had a spike, and we cover 4 counties in our area, Pensacola or Escambia to Walton County. And we've seen a spike in not only alcohol, DUI crashes, but also in prescription drugs, narcotics. Like Captain Race was saying earlier, we also have DREs. I think we've got 5 in this district. And we utilize those quite often in our DUI crashes and also in our traffic crash investigations that we've done throughout the state, or throughout this district. So we are also bringing more troopers to be DRE experts. So this is a great thing for us. You know, I mean, we're in our high fatality rated time frames, with being the summer, now being in the holiday time frame.
The next unified crackdown is scheduled for February 2nd, which of course is Super Bowl Sunday.
That's right, and you can follow the Okaloosa DUI Unified Task Force on Facebook. And of course, if you ever see a driver you believe to be impaired, contact or call your local law enforcement agency immediately.
One of the beauties of cell phones is that so many people are using them now to call in when they see a drunk driver or someone they suspect to be a drunk driver. Next up, we're going to hear from MAD volunteer Amy Jamison, who explains the value of Carly bears to the new Okaloosa Unified DUI Task Force. These bears were donated by Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and it's so law enforcement can hand them out to comfort kids at the scene of a DUI traffic stop even, or of course a crash.
These are called Carly bears, and a mom that lost her daughter, unfortunately in an impaired driving incident, died, and this mom came up with something for kids that are a part of either a DUI stop and the parents are getting the field sobriety test, or there's been a crash and things are very chaotic and the kids are freaking out. This Carly bear is supposed to help you with the child for a brief moment and give them something to hold on and comfort them in their time of distress. So this is just another tool that MAD is using to help law enforcement. Just for instance, last night we had our 6th victim impact panel for the year, and there were 100 attendees that were court ordered to come. So you guys, the lives that you're changing and impacting are huge, because a lot of them, majority of them are first-time offenders, but you're making a difference in making them think. And by some of the things that they're court ordered to do, especially the victim impact panels, listening to actual stories and seeing people that have been affected by DUI offenders, it makes a big difference to them. And quite often some will say, this is the cheapest thing we've been through, but it's the most effective. So you guys are making a huge difference, because we haven't had a attendance, we've been in the 70s and 80s. Last night, like I said, was 100. You guys are getting them off the roads and keeping our roadways safer. And I want to say thank you again.
And now we're going to head to our next list of individuals we're hoping that you can help us locate.
And again, the contact information for Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers is 863-TIPS, emeraldcoastcrimestoppers.com, or of course that very popular P3TIPS mobile application.
And we're still looking for 48-year-old Clayton McCree Copeland. He's being sought for violation of probation for providing false information to a pawnbroker and grand theft of a motor vehicle, last known to live in Destin.
The last known address for Ryan Christopher Brown was on 29th Street in Niceville. Brown's wanted for VOP for possession of a controlled substance and battery.
And 56-year-old Craig Mitchell Mayfield, still being sought by Okaloosa deputies for violation of probation for grand theft of a motor vehicle. He was last known to live on Troy Street in Fort Walton Beach.
Hoping someone can help us track down Darrell LaShawn Williams. Williams wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for lewd and lascivious behavior.
Coretta LaDawn James, she's 36 years old. She's wanted for failure to appear for grand theft and fraud, last known to live on Wilson Street in Crestview.
Back over to the Walton County Sheriff's Office, they're looking for Devin Earl Jordan for felony violation of probation, last known address Defuniak Springs.
And now to the Crestview Police Department. They're searching for 23-year-old Abdib Malik Bell, and he's being sought for robbery by sudden snatching. He was last known to live in Defuniak Springs.
Take a look at 33-year-old Blake Elliott VOP. He's wanted for VOP for grand theft, trafficking in stolen property, and providing false information to a pawnbroker.
27-year-old Andrew Allen Coslow, he's wanted for violation of probation on the original charge of grand theft of a firearm.
This next individual's been on the list for a while. It's Anjali Rachel Johnson, as Johnson is wanted for aggravated battery. She was last known to live on Mixon Road in Defuniak Springs.
And Okaloosa deputies are still looking for 21-year-old Aisha Marie Nathan. She's being sought for failure to appear for vehicle theft.
Another violation of probation, this time for grand theft, burglary, and aggravated stalking. That is Reginald Dwayne Muse on the photo that we are hoping you can help us track down.
Another one that's been a pretty constant on the show is Dennis Frederick Taylor Jr. He's 49 years old. He's wanted for failure to appear for fraud, providing false statement to obtain unemployment compensation. He was last known to live on Brook Street in Fort Walton Beach.
Next up is William Brian Harnish. Harnish is wanted for VOP for possession of a controlled substance and possession of drug paraphernalia. His last known address was in Freeport.
And wrapping up this list is Timothy James Howard. He's 35 years old. He's wanted for larceny, resisting an officer in recovery of stolen property, as well as failure to appear for fraud. He was last known to live on Bearhead Road up in Defuniak Springs.
It's the time of year to start thinking about your taxes, and unfortunately that also means that it's the time of year when scammers out there start thinking about ways to implement their schemes to rid you of your cash.
Yes, they do, and there are many different variations of IRS schemes involving paying money owed, rebates and audits, etc. But here are some important things to remember to avoid becoming a victim. The IRS will not contact you via phone or email. And they will not contact you about your tax return by phone or email. They will use the mailing address you place on your return, and you can also use direct deposit into your checking account for tax returns.
Now keep in mind the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office Crime Prevention Unit provides fraud alerts via email, so if you're interested in learning more about how to protect yourself from these con artists, just email Ashley Bailey at abailey@sheriff-okaloosa.org.
And now we're at our final rundown of fugitives, and we're going to wrap up the show. So we're going to start with 32-year-old Chad Thurman Grice. He's wanted for battery, criminal mischief, and burglary with assault, last known to live on Griffith Mill Road up in Baker.
Hoping somebody out there knows where to find George Monroe Emmerich II. He's been on the list for a while, and he's wanted by the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office for violation of probation for domestic violence, strangulation, and aggravated battery.
And this next one's been here a while, and we're certainly not going to give up on him either. That's 36-year-old Alexis Wilmer Mondragon. The Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office is searching for him for sexual battery, sex offense against a child, as well as lewd and lascivious molestation. He was last known to live on Spencer Drive in Fort Walton Beach.
Misty Nolan Johnson is 38 years old. She's wanted for grand theft and fraud.
And Walton County deputies are still searching for 33-year-old Brittany Linnell Sanders for violation of probation for create, use, or possess counterfeit credit cards with intent to use counterfeit information.
Daniel Lewis Davis violated his probation on a burglary charge. Davis was last known to live in Crestview.
Roderick James Rudderson Jr., who was last known to live on Mooney Road in Fort Walton Beach, he's wanted for possession of synthetic narcotics within 1,000 feet of a school, as well as failure to appear for driving while license suspended or revoked.
Also hoping to track down Samuel Edward Thomas III. Thomas is wanted for VOP on original charges of providing false information to a pawnbroker, false imprisonment, and grand theft. Thomas was last known to live in Shalimar.
And back to Walton County, deputies over there are searching for 48-year-old James Anthony Williams for violation of probation for possession of a controlled substance, possession of marijuana, and possession of drug paraphernalia.
And you can earn a cash reward if you can help us locate Tyler Lee Andrews, wanted for VOP on the original charges of grand theft of a motor vehicle and possession of methamphetamine.
43-year-old Tashawn Coward Sr. is being sought for driving while license suspended or revoked, as well as non-payment of child support. He was last known to live on Scranton Street in Fort Walton Beach.
50-year-old Stephen Charles Briley is wanted for VOP. The charges, grand theft and uttering a forged instrument. Briley's last known address was in Fort Walton Beach.
Walton deputies are still also searching for 59-year-old Bobby Duran Simmons, and he's being sought for felony violation of probation, last known to live on Wedsell Road in Sampson.
Also trying to find Herbert Samuel Duger or Duggar, depending on how you pronounce it, wanted by the Walton County Sheriff's Office for felony violation of probation.
And 46-year-old Lathea Lynette Garcia, she's wanted for fraud. She actually swindled a 77-year-old by using a fake letter from a charitable organization.
Roger Osmar Castellon-Ponce wanted for VOP for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. Last known address, Fort Walton Beach.
And we're still searching for 50-year-old Tony Wayne Poland. He's wanted for failure to appear for criminal mischief, burglary, as well as theft. Last known to live in Freeport.
Contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers if you know where to find Kendrick Cordell Boxey. Boxey's wanted for violation of probation for child neglect.
And next up is 50-year-old David William Armstrong, and he's being sought for violation of probation for fraud, uttering a forged instrument, as well as grand theft.
We're winding down now. We've gotten to Angel Lewis Trowery, but we don't have a photo available. 34-year-old black male wanted by the Crestview Police Department for aggravated stalking. Last known address was in Fort Walton Beach.
And Isaac Scott Woodard II is being sought for violation of probation for possession of a controlled substance and possession of drug paraphernalia.
Last on this list, Cole Rutland Graninger, 23 years old. Graninger's wanted for VOP for aggravated stalking and burglary.
And a lot of the success that Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers has is due to viewers and, of course, tipsters who contact Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers anonymously. We had a record-breaking number of tips received in 2019, almost 1,400 of them, and that's 200 up from the previous year. So ended up resulting in 71 arrests and cleared 97 cases for local law enforcement agencies in Okaloosa and Walton counties. So thank you to the tipsters. Thank you to everyone that spreads the word about Crime Stoppers in all the municipalities and, of course, all the citizens and our volunteers as well. And, of course, the success of Crime Stoppers does depend a lot on a civilian board of directors who will be holding a big fundraiser in just over 3 months. It's hard to believe it's only 3 months away. And that is our annual crawfish boil, which we have at Uptown Station. Now, this year it is scheduled for April 25th. It's going to start at 11 a.m. there at Uptown Station. We are looking for sponsors. Be sure to visit emeraldcoastcrimestoppers.com, learn all about the sponsorship abilities, and make sure you mark your calendars. You don't want to miss this year's event.
Yeah, and don't forget to follow Emerald Coast Crime Stoppers on Facebook and Twitter as well to keep up with what's going on. And that's going to wrap up this show. We want to thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.